my very first night in VRChat is one of my standout memories. I am lucky that the first person I met in VR and befriended for a time had recorded his perspective of that night. So I have footage. He like it was years down the line. He's like, "Hey, I have like footage from that." I was like, "You do? Give it to me. I want that." I just to, like have that memento of like being able to relive that night.
Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion.
I'm All Man Raptor, and we got one hell of a guest, and that is...
WalGesicht.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm just gonna call you Vol. That's too many syllables for my tiny brain.
It's all right.
I can't even pronounce it. I'm going to have that all fucked up. It'll sound like a sports car backwards.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's all good.
well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being on. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Of course.
Yes.
So, what is it you're most known for, and how did you get started with everything and into the platform?
I suppose these days I'm most known for my work with the improv community, Skits and Bits, that I helped found a couple years ago, and then associated things from that, various collaborations or being part of other like performances and stuff. Like I was in played a main character in A Puppeteer's Tale for Dust Bunny's Rain Dance project.
Oh, wow.
So recently, that's kind of been what I've been mostly doing. But before that, other than that, doing some shorts in here, of course, world making, and I suppose avatars too. Two of the avatars in the defaults I made.
Oh, wow. You made 2 of the default avatars?
Mm-hmm. One that's in the legacy, I made the whale on like the
Oh.
robot legs. And then the little kind of green sort of axolotl type little dude in like a hat and like suspenders kind of get up.
Oh.
What brought you into VR?
Oh boy. I had like I mean, the idea of it was always like fascinating to me, and I had like a pulse on like things as it was happening. Like I remember way back, and I graduated college. I was at my first job, and I was just kind of reading up on and watching videos on the Oculus dev thing at the time, the dev kit, and but there was one day when a good friend of mine from high school sent me a video of it was like a compilation video of like different VR moments, like funny things that happened in VR, but most of them were from VRChat. And this was like in 2018 or late 2017. I can't remember exactly which, but watching it, I was just like, well, hold on a second. You mean it's like there was a leap that I missed here, and all of a sudden we're like, it's ready to like use, like VR's here and good to go. And I just the first thing in that video too was like this. It was in VRChat. There was a guy who walks up to a skeleton standing next to the edge of a world. It's like at night, and he pushes the skeleton off, and there's this guy that's like a rubber chicken or something with like a broom, and he's going like murderer. And that guy's just like, you didn't see anything, and it's like, oh no, I didn't. I'm just sweeping here. I'm just like, and that one video contaminated my algorithm, and all I was getting was like VRChat and VR videos, and it was like, I just couldn't get enough of it, and I was like, I want to get in this thing, and also being like like just my own egg cracked around that time as well, and I was just like kind of blown away that nobody gave a shit like if you were using a female avatar or not. I was just like, oh, this is the perfect place to try some genders alternatives out, and then from there I just made friends with various people, and especially in the improv scene, and also through wanting to like make my own avatars and worlds and stuff. Just like I got like super into like just doing anything in this space.
Wow. Sounds like you're up to a lot. What got you started with each of the facets you do here in VRChat, with like world and avatar making, the various improv scenes and groups you're associated with? What got you into all of those to begin with, from like the beginning when you first hopped in?
Oh, the avatar stuff was probably like the first thing that I got like kind of started getting into. It was first as a desire to like wanting, like I was like, oh, as soon as I get my VR, like I'd like to have my own avatar, not like use one that like everybody else is using. But I hadn't a clue at the time, so I was just like devouring video tutorials on how to do stuff in Blender and character design and stuff in Unity, and the first thing I made was utter garbage, and never uploaded it or used it, but eventually I got to a point where I felt comfortable to like use what I was making, and I so yeah, made my own avatars for a while that I would use, and then the whales, I was kind of like an idea I had because I had a bunch of friends who were like small like avatars, and I was getting tired of like having to look down, and there was no height changing or anything at the time. So I was just like, well, I'll just make like a little like whale minion, because like my character at the time was I mean still is, it's like this aquatic whale theme always. And at the time she had like a dome in the back of her head that had like a tiny whale swimming around that you could see. And I was like, oh, you know, like as a theme to it, I'll have like a little like whale minion that I can like hop into when I want to like talk to like my shorter friends. But that project just evolved into like more like 7-foot tall whales on robot legs. And at the same time I was working on that was when VRChat announced that they were like looking for new avatars, and they were like, submit your thing. And I was just like, well, I guarantee nobody else is making this, so I'm gonna throw this at the wall and see if they accept it or not. And I was surprised when I got that message from I think it was VR Pill that it'd be getting chosen. I was like, oh. And then world-wise was just like, seeing all these places, like I really wanted to make my own environment, and I took what was at the time was like this they provided a world kit, like you could have like the home world at the time. You could download it, customize it, do anything you want with it. And I did that, and I found a bunch of stuff on the unityassets store that were free, and I just put together this thing, and I was like kind of sort of blown away with like how fast I was able to get like what was in my imagination out. And I was just like, oh, this is addicting, because I up at that time had been mostly doing like kind of like 2D art and video, and even around then too I was doing like drawing streams, but like nothing quite got what was in my head the way I wanted it, like making things for VR. And that's kind of like what got my bug. I take a long time to make my worlds because I've got 100 different things going on, and I can sometimes be a bit of a perfectionist. But I do really like making them. And then as far as the improv stuff goes, that's like a long, winding story where I had done improv way back in college, almost almost 10 years prior at that point, and we did like an improvised radio sci-fi comedy, and we did that for like 4 seasons, and then also ended up adapting it as like a student television show as well. And I had a blast doing that. It was like we'd have like an outline, and we would just go ham on like how to hit the points and stuff, and we got into character. But I was one day I was hopping on somebody in VRChat, like a friend, and I loaded in, and there's just this world full of people. And also I was a little like starstruck too, because there was like at the time people who were like VRChat famous. So I was just like, oh shit, how did I end up here? And I was like, I went up to my friend. I was like, what's going on? It's like, oh, we just had our improv show. And I was like, what? You guys do improv? It's like, I want in on that. I used to do that way back. It's like, oh, well, I'll give you the Discord, an invite to the Discord so you can get in. And then that was kind of like the start of it all. It was like this small little, almost like open mic night style kind of improv where like anybody can get on the stage and do the games. And it was largely like folks from like NAGS 21's like sphere of people, and did that for like a while, and I just it's kind of like what I was doing. And one day I was sitting in a voice call with some friends, and I was like, oh hey, I gotta go to improv. And one of my friends that were in the call, girls, she messaged me a DM and was just like, oh wait, you do improv? And I was like, I do this group, you should come and check out our workshops and stuff. And I was like, oh really? Dang. And so I joined that Discord, but out of anxiety, I sat in there for like a month before officially asking for the student role so I could go. But that bullet that I finally bit was just kind of the absolute like definitely like the history from there, because I got really involved in that group for like 3 years, and I was also still doing stuff for the other group at the same time, so it's like dual improv groups. Unfortunately, that one ended up shutting its doors, and then the one that I got really involved in, I had the guy that led it and myself had a falling out, so I ended up leaving that group. But then not soon after that, it closed down, and all my friends that were still there, and all the other people as well, were just like, well, we don't want this to die. And so I was approached by Switzerlad, which you've interviewed before, and Zircon Swift. It was like, hey, do you want to found a new group with us? And that's how Skitsandbits started a couple years ago. And that's been like almost most of my creative focus has been doing things with that group, either the shows or collaborations with other groups or special projects or videos and stuff. So it's also, that has also kind of slowed down my own personal things, but it still is very satisfying running something like that, especially with how fast and large it's grown, and like the people that want to do things with us, like the murder mystery party that we did with TVRS and FIA last year. That was a huge project that we only had like a month and a half to like come up with and produce. And we managed to do it and pulled it off. And that was it was a lot of pressure, but it was a lot of fun. And then, just things with Trans Academy, the former DPS, Project Community. We've got some other things coming up as well.
Wow. So
I got one. I got something to ask. Why? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw on VR? And you said, that you have to go. That type of deal.
Gosh, I knew that question was coming because I've watched your show. So,
Most people do.
and I don't know. I've been lucky to surround myself with a very good group of like stable people. Like there's nothing, I haven't found myself in too many instances of being like, oh gosh. The only times is maybe when we did this it was for like one of the VR cons. We did it was like the premiere of a game show of the previous improv group I was part of. I helped like design the world and produce it, and I was like the talking like tiki head, like in what was that show? Legends of the Hidden Temple. I had a character like that, and I played that.
Oh God! Now you're making me feel old. Holy shit! My God!
And and during that, we had this like, because of the high profile of it being like a VRCon event, there was just at some point somebody just was like coming in and just screeching at the top of their lungs, and like at the time there wasn't mods are easier to do, so like they were just breaking through whatever things we had set up, and it was just like a nightmare trying to deal with this. It was like constantly block at this, and that was annoying and embarrassing because it's just like we're trying to put on this good show, and it's the first time we've done it, and it's at this convention, but it's like these other people want to ruin it and stuff. But other than that, like just the occasional the loser that you run into in a public once in a while, but really nothing too crazy. We'll get up just goofy shit that my friends and stuff get up to. But I guess trying to define like what's the weirdest thing when I'm like an improv comedian might be relative.
Okay, no problem.
It's like we might do something and the other people are like, that's really fucking weird, and we're just like, what?
Yeah, what are you talking about, man? I do this all day long. I don't know what's wrong with you. What are you drinking and not sharing with the class? Orange juice.
There was you are bringing me back to a time when a bunch of us ended up in one of Prowler's worlds like 2-3 years ago. We're just chilling out there, and a friend of ours was joining, and somebody had like a baby avatar that like ran really fast that we all changed into it, and just like got into the water and waited for them to come down, and just emerged these babies lit by fire. God. Just like a
oh my God. Oh. Hey, at least somebody didn't walk up to him and go, "Daddy." Oh, that'd be a nightmare. That'd make me want to leave the world instantly. I'm out of here. Time to go. Went reverse.
Daddy.
Yep. Oh God.
So let's take you back a little bit. So let's start with the improv stuff you do. What was early Skits and Bits like, and some of the earlier shows you got you into improv here in VRChat? Like, what was the early days like, and how much has changed since then?
Well, of course, like early that like kind of open mic night one. That was very hit or miss as to whether or not it was funny. Because it would just be anybody who volunteered to get up there, and you were rolling the dice as to whether or not you were going to get put with somebody that you were going to be able to who understood like what it took to do improv and like the cooperation, or if they were just up there for themselves. There was like certainly some that at some point I was like, if I saw them get on the stage, I was like, I'm not volunteering for this. But there were other people that I loved doing things with, that even TFM Johnny used to go that all the time too, do improv with him. But from on to that, to the other group, um, it was quite small. Nothing the size of Skits and Bits is now. But it'd be like a group of like 10 people doing like a workshop together, and we'd have like a show of like 6, like we do at Skits and Bits, and we'd have like maybe like an audience of like 20 people or something like that. But at some point, right before the pandemic, like we hit like a low where we had maybe 5 of us were doing the workshops anymore, and like our attendance at our shows were way down, and it was just kind of like it seemed like things were fading. But then the first VRCon happened during the pandemic because all the other actual cons were gone, and we put forth a workshop and a show, and we were just blown away. We had a packed 80 cap for both of them, and we were like almost unprepared for like the size of the attendance we got, and that exposed us to like hundreds of people, and then suddenly our group grew like 3 times the size, and we tried to adapt to that. And then, because a lot of those people ended up carrying over to Skits and Bits, we have been fortunate to have like a decent size at the start. But we did have, it was very run and gun at the time. We were just making do what we had. We used the old, what was the name of it? Coincidentally, I think it was called Open Mic Night, the World. To do our first workshops in, and but then we realized that our Quest users, whoever made that world, the Quest version they uploaded is just nothing. There's invisible colliders that you can walk on, but they're just in an empty void. We had no idea that was the case, and we were like looking around, and Dusty Dust Bunny from the VRDA, who was a fan of the shows from the previous group, they were like, "Hey, why don't you use our dance theater until you can build your own theater?" And we're like, "Oh my gosh, that's awesome! Thank you." And that's where we did it for a while until like all the whole fall until December. During the last VRCon, we did our first show in our theater, although the theater at the time had like nothing in it. It was just the walls and bare bones of anything, no decorations or anything. But yeah, that's kind of how it was in the beginning.
Okay. Well, thank you for explaining that. Sounds like you guys have been through a whole lot. What have been some of your favorite shows over the years, or favorite events or collabs you and your groups have done?
Well, definitely that murder mystery. That was our biggest collaboration we ever did. It involved a lot of things, a lot of moving parts, a lot of people, and the fact that we were able to do it in such a if this was a show that should have been done over like 6 months of like planning, but we did it in like a month and a half, and I guess just the fact that we're improvisers, it's just kind of like, well, we gotta just do what we gotta do to come up with what we gotta do to get it done, and we were just such a relief that it went off without too much of a problem. It's kind of one of those things. Like once it was over, it's just like, oh, you didn't realize how much stress you had, but it felt good that you did this whole big cool thing, got out of the way. Other shows that I've liked, we did like this. One of our team leads and hosts, Hans. He did a Super Bowl, spelled soup, and it was like a fake competitive, like a 2-team matchup between two improv teams like in-house. And that was like a very different kind of thing we did. We had a lot of fun. And then I also did a show that I hosted there where I tried to weave a narrative using short form games. And it was something I had experimented with in like one of the improv groups prior. But it was like the first time I was like, I'm going to make it work. This is going to be a cool thing. And that one also was a lot of fun to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember.
Where do you get your inspiration for your worlds?
For my world, so I suppose there's a handful of things that I often like. I draw inspiration from in terms of like media and like artists and stuff. One would be like James Turrell. He's like a light sculptor. He's like my favorite artist, and I often draw for him for inspiration in terms of like how to use light and color to form a space. I love experimenting with that stuff. And then Simon Stolenhag, he's a now a fairly well-known Swedish painter, artist, who makes like these little like storybooks, like these really intricate paintings of kind of like alternate versions of like the past, where things are like have this really it kind of almost makes you feel nostalgic for like something that never existed, and it's just such like wide like vistas with really inspiring like sci-fi elements and stuff that I really find interesting, which is kind of especially with like the spheres and stuff in here. Like I kind of drew a lot of inspiration from his work. On top of that, I guess there's like in terms of I do like little puzzles and mysteries. I'm trying to remember where I would have pulled that from. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on it right now, but I often use that as a way to like get people to kind of slow down and like explore the space instead of just like zipping through it and be like, oh, I saw it, and then go on to the next thing. It's kind of a way to get them to like pay attention to the place that they're in. And then of course, like my favorite game, Disco Elysium, has like a really different kind of vibe for like an RPG. It's very imaginative and melancholic and stuff. It's I have like this, I guess, kind of fascination with more like I don't want to say depressive kind of environments or something. Like it's very like stuff in like a liminal kind of vibe where there's like an uneasiness. The space sometimes it's like there's something that you feel something else is there about it that you can't quite see or get to, which is especially for this place I really dug into, because like anything you in the distance, like there's things you can see but you can't quite get there. There's little dudes walking. You can see people hanging out in the background watching you. But I dare you to try and get to them.
I'm just looking for the Jawas.
Yeah, of course. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, so that's always been in the back of my head when doing projects all the time. Drawing inspiration from that. I love sci-fi.
So the world we're in, where did the inspiration for this come from, and what were you aiming for when making it?
It is actually a sequel to The Hushed Forest. There was a lore of sorts that got developed when I used to be an art streamer. Near the end of like my art streaming, I was doing like these like chimera projects where like audience members were suggesting different animals to combine. And I would combine them, and always my methodology was like, which animal would look worse with the other's skin on it? And it was just like, how to make this look the worst possible version of the two combined. And But the very first thing I made was like was a centipony, just this infinite horse, and that kind of became almost like the mascot for this whole series of projects. And it got incorporated into like this lore of the work I work on, which is like this Whaleface Industries entity that's like doing weird scientific things and explorations and genetic experiments. And the focus of that became like, for that world and this one was had to do with the centipony. In the Hush Forest, you're coming across like remains of like a previous team that had been there, and you kind of like get through some fairly easy puzzles and stuff to get to like this vision that you get about the pony that then points you towards this world. And then this world is all about kind of like things that are just always just out of reach. And if anybody wants to, there's context through the environment that kind of, in combination with the previous world, gives clues to like the whole centipony thing. And it's funny because it's like the idea of this creature and its name is like ridiculous, but in universe, the characters themselves treat it very seriously. So it's just kind of a fun thing to toy around with. And that's formed the base. And of course, when I first was making this world, it started out as like I was going to make like a jungle with like a ruin in it. But I just, as so many other projects of mine happen, I end up making like maybe like 3-4 versions of place before I start feeling like I'm getting into a groove. And it's like I realized like, oh, what if this was like a desert that used to be a long time ago, like a lush place, and you're coming here to try and find more clues towards this creature and like the people that captured it and it terrorized. And it's like even from here you can see that like there's even like a couple layers in terms of time and stuff where like the tree that's sitting on that thing, it's dried out and dead for like a long time, but you can also see that it burrowed its way through the ruin itself. So like the ruin's been there a long time before the tree. The tree broke it that when there was still greenery around here. So it's like more, things go back further than the person might think. I love those kind of environmental storytelling things in games. Like when I can just like go into a game and I'm just like piecing together what happened kind of through context. So that's why I love like FromSoft games because of that. Dark Souls and Elden Ring, it's all about environmental storytelling and little tidbits that like you just, once you put something together, you're like, oh, wait a minute. It's not explicitly told to you, but it's like told to you just enough for you to be like, that's I'm pretty sure that's the case. But something about it not being like told exactly is like feels more satisfying that you're making that connection. And you kind of get that too, like the Fallout games. Like you're always running across like I can always tell if I was like, oh, the world designers had a lot of fun here because it's like little teeny stories like just in the environment itself that you can find. Gone Home, I played a long time ago, and that whole thing was like kind of one of the first video games I played like kind of like that, where I realized there's like this is a story that you can't tell in any other medium than a game, because like you can't go around picking objects up and like looking around in a space that some people lived in and like piecing together everything is like about everybody's life there in anything else like that. So it's that's another reason that like I'm drawn to making things in VR, because it's just like it's lets me scratch that creative itch in a way that I can't in others. I still like making like films and video. I've been doing that for over 10 years now, both professionally and as a hobby.
Oh wow.
And so I bring that into here too, and I think VR and virtual production itself is like a great, huge opportunity for being able to make things. So you do literally whatever you want with like no budget, and making films in VR. It's been like I need a set for this, and you just make it. Which is something I've done for Project Community as of late, where it was just like, you know what? I'm getting tired of like hunting worlds that just meet exactly what I need. I'm just gonna make what I need and program it with all like the effects that I need, and so I can cinematically just time everything right and make it the way I want. And I've kind of like started to really explore that more, like making like VR sets. And I wrapped up one recently for another Project Community video project, and I hope to make another one for a Skits and Bits video that we want to make for the spooky season. So that'll be the next thing I'll be going on to for that. And then in the background too, though, there's a very large world project I've got going on that I've involved other creative friends, encoding friends in on, and it's kind of like, work on it while I can, and it's going to take me a long time to like finish it, but it's like it'll be the biggest thing I've worked on since, and it's like kind of incorporating a lot of the things that I've learned and things that I like. And I've developed a better understanding of like really what it is that like is appealing to those that to me, and how to get at that stuff better.
You said a lot of things, and I have a lot of questions. I'm going to start with the earlier ones, and we'll work our way through the rest of it. So I hope you've got some time ahead of you.
Hold on, real time. Hold
Sorry
on
for
tight,
rambling.
because it's. Oh no! Please do ramble, but look out! He's gonna throw everything but the kitchen sink and the front door at you. So I hope you're ready.
Hit me up. Do what you gotta do.
So I won't multi-layer. I'll ask. Well, I may actually, but either way. So the Scented Pony thing and Whaleface Industries within your lore, how do they connect with this world and the one prior to it? How do they all intertwine with each other?
You wanna hit up the arcade after this?
We've kind of played every arcade game like a million times.
Yeah.
What about the record store?
They didn't get anything new in this week.
Seems like there's like nothing to do.
Hey kids, heard you all need a little bit of fun in your lives.
What the hell are you?
Oh, I'm Letty, and I'm here to show you two improv.
Improv? Isn't that for nerds?
Listen, you and you are both here in VRChat. That makes you and you nerds. So, allow me to take you all to Skits and Bits Improv.
Oh
What
god!
the hell just happened?
Welcome to Skits and Bits Improv, a fun, welcoming, and creative community, all surrounded about the basis of improv.
Hey Robert, I've heard you're bored of the soup.
Yes, and actually, oh my god, this is so much soup! Jesus Christ! I'm not ever gonna get used to that.
I'm gonna be sick.
And we host improv workshops available to all skill levels every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So come join us.
Lottie, you can't be just teleporting and ruining the scene like that.
Oh, don't worry, I got that covered. Allow me. No.
What the hell was that?
This is where we host our shows every last Saturday of each month, 6 p.m. Eastern. Check out how we perform.
You have to stop doing that!
Change.
You have to keep doing that?
And we produce our own short films, sketches, and skits.
Wait, what the hell's a skit?
All right. We're in a skit right now. That's right. So, come and join us, everyone. But do note that this group is meant for ages 18 years or older. So y'all little kids, get out of here. Go, bye. Sayonara, go, bye. So, what do you think about joining us for improv?
You know, the existential dread of teleportation isn't really all that horrible.
Join us for improv today.
The hushed forest is you arriving on the scene of an expedition to excavate and investigate like this burial mound that was found in the woods. And you arrive there and it's like this equipment's kind of busted, nobody's around anymore, and like the little hovercraft over there is like, it's not on, it's just quiet and sitting in the woods. And you kind of like, through clues, you kind of like are trying to like make one thing after another work to allow you to enter the burial mound. And there's also this giant beast that's like stomping around in the distance that you can just make out and hear. It's always sometimes too funny when I take people there. It's like, what is that noise? And they look up at the sky and like, what the fuck is that? And like little things, you could spot some eyes watching you, like that thing over there in the woods as well. And when you get into the burial mound, there's you're able to kind of like accept a vision of sorts that like transport you to kind of loose interpretation of like events that happened in the past involving like the arrival of like the Centipony and trying to capture it and stuff. And things in that vision and stuff you can actually find scattered in this this wasteland here, because once you finish that vision, you're popped back out into the burial mound with a portal to this world. And here it's like you're just kind of exploring, you know, there's like a story underneath about this, you know, this infinite, like, otherworldly creature that kind of like terrorized this group of people, and they kind of through ethically dubious means figure out a way to lure it to a location and then capture it. And then you get to that through getting into that little temple ruin there, but that's not the only place. That also leads somewhere else into another place. It goes into another place. There is theoretically plans for a third world that would wrap things up in this kind of Centipony story. And I had like worked on a good chunk of like a landscape for it, but then I was getting unsatisfied at the time with the progress and moved on to other projects just to free up my mind and maybe think on it for a while. So maybe someday I will top things off. But that other huge project that I've got going on is really my main priority in terms of my personal projects.
So you've hinted at where it came from, but what led to, during the stream, the creation of the Centipony, and what is the Centipony?
A Centipony is
I know, but
I was just gonna make a smart ass remark. Don't you know? You just go around sniffing your ponies and make sure they're scented before you put them to pasture.
I don't know
What's
what
wrong
you
with you,
guys
sir?
do down
good.
south, but you guys can keep your pastimes.
Wait a minute. I'm not down south. I'm north of same as you. Oh man.
You're further south than I am.
Talk to your friends and. Well, yeah, but not much. I'm only a state away from Canada. Oh, we're going to start getting in bigger. Go back to what you were saying. I'd sit here and argue with you for 20 minutes.
Gosh, what was it? I don't 100% remember, but there was something somebody said in the chat. And it might have been like one of those streams that was just like, hey, tell me what to draw it. I'll draw it. But it also, oh, you know what? I think I have things coming back to me now. I think there was a discussion. There was like some joking discussion in a a streamer's Discord that I used to like moderate for, where that like those words got mushed together and it became like this thing we kept joking about, and I was just like, and then on stream I was just like, I'm gonna draw it. I'm gonna draw the Son of Pony, and I just drew this like long snaking horse that was like pink and had like a rainbow mane, just like legs. And that drawing does have an end to it, but from then on out, any iterations involving it, like the thing doesn't have an end, and the lore that got made up is that it's like if the horse like it touched itself at any point, reality would reset. And like a Kelpie, if you got on the Son of Pony, you're never getting off. You're stuck to that thing forever. And it's just like this impossibly large being too. Like I remember one of my first like Blender renders too was like creating that scene of like people discovering the Son of Pony coming out of like this portal in a cave. Yeah.
Oh wow, sounds like you had a fun time.
Yeah. It was a fun little project to go in. And that kicked off the whole Chimera thing, where it's just like, hey, you should slap some other things together, and that's where that ball got rolling, and that created the sort of the lore for Whale Face Industries. And so the world that we were in first, that was the second world I ever made, but that was the first world that had anything to do with Whale Face, and it was like an avatar vending machine, sort of, that like screwed with your DNA and turned you into a whale minion. And we made a promo video for that too, where it was like a promotional video. It was just like, hey, come on down and get your if you're tired of being a human and you want something new, you just get your DNA scrambled and turned into one of our fine selections of whales. And we've got people giving testimonials going like, why does my skin itch? It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
So you also hinted on during everything we've heard from you so far that what you do in the real world. What got you started with improv and filmmaking and art? What led you down that path initially, and how does what you do in the real world connect to VR, and how similar are the two?
Art stuff in general, that's been something I've been doing since I was like 2 years old. I've starting out just drawing all the time. Probably because my mother was like an artist too, so I guess I just kind of like took after her and developed a love for for that stuff. And I guess maybe it's always been like trying to chase like what was in my imagination all the time, trying to make these vivid pictures in my head just come as best best as I can to life. And then when Star Wars had its special edition re-release in like '97 for the 20th anniversary, that was the first time I had seen those films, and it was kind of like I was like 10 years old, I think, and I was blown away. I was like, movies can be like this, and it just put this bug in me where it's like I just wanted to make movies. I was still too young to really do it, but it didn't stop me from writing my own Star Wars ripoff scripts and then getting other kids from my elementary school playground to take time out of recess to rehearse the scripts. I don't know how I convinced them to do that. I guess I have an uncanny ability to get people to work on weird projects, but that has stayed with me forever, and like I continued doing art through high school. Then I went to an art college. Initially starting like a concentration on illustration, but then when during our sophomore year we started working with like some video and sound art, and I was just like, I kind of fell back in love with like wanting to do filmmaking, and I just went flat out with that, and I just all of my classes afterwards were just filled with anything that had to do with like sound art or video art, along with I had some close college friends that we were always in all the same classes together and stuff. Hi, what are you doing? Yeah, so that was my concentration, and upon graduating, after a long, hard job search, got a job working as a video production assistant for a startup, and over time climbed the ladder there over a period of like 7 years until I was the department head, and unfortunately due to like some changes and stuff with the business, that department got shut down, and I was shifted over to doing internet advertising, which I still do today. But besides doing all that professional video work, I worked on several of a friend's like short films, and as like both cinematographer and editor, and also working on my own like short films and like web series and stuff. And then then I came face first into VR and discovered kind of like finally like my medium that I really seem to thrive in. So that's all the art stuff. I think you mentioned something else.
Oh, yeah. I know I'm really good at layered questions, so I deeply apologize. The last part of that is, how does what you do in the real world connect to what you do here in VR, and how similar and different is the two mediums?
Oh, okay. Well, at least with the all the video stuff I've done, commercially and as a hobby, that's like that kind of stuff is like now like ingrained in my head, like the fundamentals of like videography and filmmaking, at least on that level, have allowed me to just like with video projects just be able to improvise, the not just like the script in Skits and Bits, but also the cinematography, and I could just like It's like I know exactly, what the visual language that different kind of camera angles and focal lengths and stuff portray, and it's just like I'm able to like plop the camera down and have like a vision ready to go in my head as to like what the scene visually needs to be, and that also just ends up playing into world making, where I try to craft the space to look. To invoke certain moods or guide the viewer's eye in certain locations. And my experience from both 2D and video artistic pursuits have layered themselves to help me be a better, I guess, VR creator.
Okay. And another question I like asking some people who like do stuff in the world similar to you, I like asking is, if you've ever had the conversation of what you do in VR with people outside of VR, what is the general response to the whole medium and what you're up to?
Like how I talk to people outside of VR about it?
If you've ever talked to people outside of VR, and what is the response to what you're up to here in VR? How do they take the whole good word?
It's been a mixed bag. I am like really passionate, excited about the stuff that happens in here, and like there's things that happen that are kind of a big deal, and so like I'll have like some people like my mother is like she gets it and really into it, but then like my father. Like, it's like, oh man, this cool thing, blah blah blah, and he's like, okay, that's cool. Well, all right, thanks, Dad. It's kind of funny too. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what do you get up to? What's your hobbies and stuff? It's like, well, I do like I run an improv group in VR, and then people are just like, what? How? It's like, how do you do it? Do people see you? I'm like, yeah, people see me. We're performing like on a stage, like in front of our eyes. It's like I'm so surrounded by people who know what this is all the time that I forget sometimes. That's like there's people that most people have no perspective as to like how like you just put this on and your brain treats it as if it's reality. It's like it thinks this is actual depth and it's going over there, and it's just like. You just kind of forget that you're not in an actual space, and you could just you're there with people, like you're interacting and talking and hanging out. So like doing improv or theater is it's the same thing, just with some notable things we have to adapt to, like latency and not really being able to touch each other, but. Visually it's like it's there, but like trying to explain that to people sometimes like it just goes over their head or their eyes glaze over and they want to change the conversation for some reason. It's like I think what I do is really cool, but they're just like okay, no, well, let's move on. It's like, all right, but yeah, but I have some friends and family here and there that find it interesting.
I appreciate the insight. Some of the people I've talked to, sometimes I feel like the crazy dude, frazzled hair, red lines on maps going everywhere. There's this group and that group and these things and those things, and I just feel like a nutcase sometimes. Oh.
Yeah. Absolutely. It can be sometimes weird, just like you think what you're saying is like genuine, like what you're doing is genuinely interesting, and it's like I'm running a theater group in like the virtual world, and it's like it just like as soon as somebody hears that, it's like it just goes by them and they don't understand anything you're talking about and don't want to inquire any further than that. And it's just like, you don't want to know more? Why not? I was briefly on HBO for 1 minute. At least you have context. It's like, But I hope maybe with time it'll be easier to kind of get people to understand. Sometimes it's taken like just putting the headset on somebody for them to realize. It's like, oh, I get it now. Which is the case with some family members.
Sometimes it'd be like that. Hearing about a thing is different from seeing the thing. I'm sure it's very different for like talking about what are the natural wonders of the world and then actually being there are two very different feelings. Because the pictures don't portray what it's actually like just standing there in front of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though I was intrigued very heavily by all the videos and stuff about VR and VRChat that I was seeing online, it was still through a flat medium, and when I got my first headset and put it on, I was blown away by like how like real it felt at the time. I was just like, how is this? How am I doing this now? And I meant to just be on for like half an hour to try the headset out, but it was like 2 a.m. on a work day, and I didn't realize it by the end of it.
How long did it take you to go all into VR with like the full body and the face tracking and the whole thing?
Oh, not long
I've
at
known
all.
some people who've like taken a year or two. Others like 10 minutes in. I want the full body now. Hand it over.
Through the video stuff and people I knew in VR who had full body. It was still kind of rare at the time, but there were still some people I knew who had it. It was just like I want like the whole thing. It's like I knew that I wanted full body down the line, which is why I got a Vive at the time, because I knew that in Oculus, even though it was cheaper than the Vive, didn't have the adaptability there easily, and especially back then, it wasn't easy getting the play spaces to work. Like there was like really slapped together software that were like really buggy to get it to work. It's much smoother now, but back then it was like forget about it. And I think it might have been 2 to 4 weeks after getting my headset that I ordered my first Vive trackers.
Oh wow, that's not long at all.
Yeah. No. It's like I gotta have it. Some of it is also, like not just like as a hobbyist and stuff. From like a trans perspective, being able to like just have the whole body that you can control and stuff the way you want it in another environment is a big thing too.
So another question I have for you as well. What have been some of your favorite memories or things you've done in here VR over all the people you've met, places and things you've done?
I'd say that my very first night in VRChat is one of my standout memories. I am lucky that the first person I met in VR and befriended for a time had recorded his perspective of that night. So I have footage. It was years down the line. It's like, hey, I have like footage from that. I was like, you do? Give it to me. I want that. Just to like have that memento of like being able to relive that night. Because it was just like, it was nothing like I had really experienced before, and it was almost like, at the end of the night, I was like, am I like an extrovert that's trapped in somebody with social anxiety? Because like in VR, I was just like talking to people and hanging out and doing things, and that I would never have done outside of VR. Like I would have been too terrified to interact with people, just like that I didn't know. But in there, I was just like, it was nuts. And back then it had like a bit of a different energy than it does now. Just like going to the pub, it was just like people just being goofy and role playing. We're like sitting at a booth with the people, 3 people that I made friends with that night. We just went to the pub and it was full of people, and there was this chicken man that came and sat with us, and it was just like, what's going on, chicken man? And we were jumping back and forth to different worlds, and it was just like, I had an incredible amount of fun, and was able to like kind of see a side of me that I didn't really realize like could be there. And so yeah, that still stands out as like one of the best memories I've had in VR. From there, it's kind of like various other thing, like that first VRCon show and workshop we did, some of the performances in the very first improv group. There's like some little tidbits of like scenes that are kind of like still stick in my mind that are it's like, oh, I miss those times. And working on the Great Meatball Heist. That was especially when we finally finished it, and both when I screened it for the cast and crew and when I screened it at Project Lens, where it premiered, having this thing that we like spent like a few months putting together, and I spent like, I just went crazy trying to get it in on the deadline, editing every day for like a month. Having people like being able to see people react positively and just laugh at the things that we had put together in that film. I think maybe it was like one of the first times like a project that a video project at least, had gotten like nothing but, you know, positive reaction instead of just being like, oh, that was interesting. And it's kind of reinforcing like you know, what I want to be doing, and maybe hopefully maybe someday I can do something career-wise related to like VR and virtual production. How you break into that, I don't know, but you know, I'm you know,
Well,
down to it's still yeah.
sorry, you continue.
It's still like a very infant medium, and being able to be one of the people that like shapes what that is awesome. And like, you know, I was, you know, born far too late to be part of like defining what movies are, of course. You know, by the time I like was dabbling in like making videos and stuff like YouTube, like people had already staked their claim on like short form videos online and podcasts and web series and stuff like that was already saturated, and but then all of a sudden VR comes along and the things you can do it, and it was just like, oh gosh, I'm at the start of it. Like I get to decide with like all these awesome creative people like what this is, and how we approach it and adapt to it, and what's possible with it. And that's I think that's that incredibly satisfying.
I've heard a lot of people describe what's going on here in VRChat as like the early days of the internet. I know a lot of people are saying they like want to make a job of it, but I think what you would consider a job now is probably nothing compared to what it will be. Although the good news is on that is we're now seeing companies sprout out of VRChat. Like VRCDN is starting to come about. You got things like Hash Studios, you got Metacosm, and Studio Penrose doing those things coming out of it. You have so many new companies coming out of it. Hell, even the LPD is a registered company now to do things. Like, it's crazy.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. Hello, I'm here to interrupt your current video, ask you a favor. Down in the description, down that way, is a link metaversedegen.card.co, which we have a whole bunch of other places. If you wish to continue following us, we have Twitter, which I run for us, which you get updates and other stuff and random thoughts from me. We have a Discord where Raptor, I, and the entire crew and all the other people we know will be over there hanging out. We game there fairly regularly or hang out in there, so feel free to go over that way and come chat with us. We'd love to meet you. We have a Spotify now. Surprise. Everything from a couple weeks ago forward, we'll have our Spotify content on Fridays. If I remember, we'll put some of our old content forward, but we're going to keep up with our current content on Spotify. So if you wish to watch it there or listen to it there, it'll be there for you as well. Also, we have a Patreon, which we have a whole other show, which we haven't been keeping up with, but we're doing our best. But we have a whole other show there for you as well. We would like to give a huge thanks to some of our supporters over that way, which is Future Oracle, Aliquum, Niche, and Forbidden Zero, all of which we thank you very much for everything, and hopefully we'll see you around and you continue to enjoy the content. Enjoy the current video. Oh boy. So it's possible.
Yeah. You got the Trans Academy became a full-fledged nonprofit this past year, I think.
Oh wow.
Skits and Bits. I don't see that right now becoming any kind of like official organization anytime soon. But it has sprouted. Like people from there have like ended up meeting and collaborating and forming their own groups and stuff, which is like one of the main purposes that we wanted. Like not just to cultivate the art of improv comedy and introduce it to people and experiment with it, but also provide as like almost a hub for people to meet and collaborate on virtual theater projects. It's been the way that I've just like met so many really cool people. And I guess we're doing something right when we've got like folks knocking on our door wanting to collaborate with us.
Well, I'm sure with everything you're up to, of course you're doing something right. Like you can see skits and bits stuff almost everywhere when you look at VRChat nowadays. At least when I do anywhere, maybe my just algorithm feed is super biased. I don't know.
I mean it's interesting to hear that, because it's like, my perspective's like I only see what like I'm working on right here, and I don't really see maybe how it's out there. It's kind of the same case with my own avatars. It's like I never really ran into like the avatars I made being used in public all that often, but from other people have told me, it's like, oh, your whale's like one of the most used out there. I've seen it all the time. It's like very iconic. And I was like, it is? I had no idea that was the case. Just like, you just sometimes you just don't know, because it's so community so big.
I think it's also with avatars, it's kind of like cars. When you first get that one car, you see it everywhere, even if it's like a Pontiac, and you're in the Pontiac and you've never seen one before, but as soon as it's in it, it's like there's one there and there's one there, there's another over there. I'm sure avatars is very similar. People use your avatar, get into it, and then poof, they see all your other avatars just there and there and there and there and there.
Yeah, that's probably the case. There's I forgot what I was talking about.
It's all good. I have another question for you as well.
That's fine. Yeah, go ahead.
A lot of your other work, like with the avatars or worlds or even skits and bits, for people who enjoy or consume what you create, what have been some of your favorite interactions with your fans from any of the mediums at which you create through?
It's really, really weird to hear fans.
Consumers of your product.
Consumers.
It's like I have fans? What?
I don't know how to put it.
What? Where the hell did you come up with that at? Consumers like to know. What do you like to do with your have you tried this? This might fit great on you.
The more I exist, the more boring I get.
that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, right. You boring. That's like watching the dog go piss on the snowman. You hope it falls over. Okay, got no problem. Yeah.
Oh no. Well, can you rephrase that again? I forgot,
with-
sort of.
Wow.
My ADHD
That
sometimes.
guy,
Yeah.
we're over here picking on each other, and she's going, huh?
Did
Like
you lose your
don't you
thoughts
love
at
it when
the
you
dog
meet-
pissing on the snowman?
Yeah, it's all gone from there. Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, I just want. Yeah, I don't blame you.
So the question was, for those who've enjoyed what you create, fans, whether it's through your avatars, the worlds you've created, or even through skits and bits, what have been some of your favorite interactions with people who enjoy it? Or memorable?
I suppose I have a few specifics and like maybe some like general ones that happen once in a while. I did have one person once like contact me out of the blue, and they were just like somebody who like used my avatar all the time. They were just like, "Is there any way I could have be able to have a copy to be able to edit, to like make my own edits to it?" And like it was already like a public, it's a public default avatar, so it's just like I just threw it for free up on Gumroad with some use rules with it so that the person can use it. But like I remember them someone liking something I made so much that they want to like have like a custom version for themselves. It was really cool, and almost also just like a weird experience. Seeing like they actually visited the world one time, and I could tell that they were like seemed to be really shy to talk to me about it because they were just like hiding in the corner, which is like he's like, that's usually me. It's like, why are people like afraid to talk to me? And there's also very recent somebody. I won't disclose any of it because I don't really know how much I can talk about it. But there is somebody in VRChat that uses an avatar of mine, and they have been inquiring about a customized version of it. So that's really flattering when like the company that made the thing that you spend so much of your time in is like notices the things you do. And that was a case like that when I was reached out to by I think it was also VR Pill again during New Year's 2019, I think, and they were like, "Hey, we want you in the New Year's world." And it's like, I was like, "What?" And it's like, yeah, here's a billboard for you. Put your stuff. And I was just like, oh, okay. And I've been invited to like, in the New Year's every year since then.
Wow.
And some other things, I guess, in general with like improv. People there's people that come to our improv thing like very shy, very in their shell, and you see like through our every week when we're meeting, like these people like just kind of open up and change, and there's so many times that we have people who like will come up to us or during I'll call it our Roses and Thorns segment at the end of each workshop, when everybody gives like their thoughts about stuff. They talk about how much this has changed them. They were like, I used to be such a very closeted, shy person, and now I'm like acting and doing all this stuff, and it's allowing people to like find their confidence. That's awesome. And I think I'm an okay improviser. I mean, I do what I can. I think I'm all right. But sometimes I get thrown through a loop and like people are just like, oh my gosh, like you're a master at this. I was like, what are you talking about? And it's like I'm figuring this out all on my own. And I think one time it was like I made somebody that was performing for us, like it was one of their first shows, and they did something that made me laugh. And I thought it was really funny, and I overheard. It was just like somebody's like, oh, it's like I made Vol laugh. It's my life is complete. And I was just like, having people think like that highly of your sense of humor is can be like a culture shock. It's just like it's almost like a panic. It was like, oh yeah, well no, not me. Why I'm not important. Why? Yeah, so stuff like that's been like always popped up in my head.
So, harking back to the video of the first time in VRChat, did you expect to be where you are now when you hopped in? Did you have any inkling of you'd be on the journey you've been on?
Not really. I don't know what I was expecting, because it's like I didn't really have that many friends in VR. It was like I met those handful of people, and there were some people from that streamers Discord that like I had gotten to know a little bit. And they were kind of friends. If they were online, I would hang out with them. But like if I had no friends on, I would just go to Gaia Night and like sit on the cliff and watch people show off like their avatar animations and stuff. But once I got involved in improv, that was kind of like the nail in the coffin, because it was like I suddenly met people who became like my friends I have been close friends with for years now. Even like this past month, we a bunch of us from Skits and Bits met for a whole week in like Boston to hang out. These are people I just knew from their avatars and stuff, but like we're now close enough friends that we're just like meeting up and hanging out IRL. I kind of forgot the question was.
Did you expect to be on the journey you've been on, harking back to the video you saw?
Thank you. Sorry. So no, I didn't expect to have such a large group of friends that like genuine close friends. Like I have. It's gotten to a point where like I have so many people to try and keep track of that like it gets hard, but like all of them are important to me, and I'm like close with. And I before it was just like I had like my couple of like high school friends that I was still friends with, and then like my few college friends that I kept in touch with, and but most of the time I was just kind of like by myself in my apartment, and like I'd struggle to like get my friends to like play a game or something like that if they weren't busy. But then like here it's like I'm not alone anymore. Like I have so many people that I'm close with now, and I never expected to also have like such an international group of people I know, like from the whole across the globe. And it's like we're just nuts with VR. It's like I did a woman from Germany, but that was like kind of the extent of it for a while. And then now it's just like all over the globe. It's like Switzerland, Germany, Sweden, Finland, France, all over the UK, Australia, Canada. It's like everywhere. And it's like almost now it's like if I want to like travel to a country, it's like I almost have like it's like I have a place I can stay to reduce expenses now. It's like I visit that friend there. It's like I've kind of awesome. Even went to Switzerland last year to visit Switzerland with a couple other Skits and Bits friends. And being involved in like so many projects also was not what I expected. I mean, like, I was struggling all the time. There was like, I had projects I wanted to do, but they always required like a lot of people or a lot of time or a lot of money, especially if it's like trying to make like films and stuff. Like that is an expensive hobby and a very difficult one to do if you've got like certain things you really want to accomplish. And there's always this frustration too. It's just like I felt like I wasn't doing anything sometimes because it's just like I didn't make a short film this year, so I feel like creatively like dead. But it being here, it's like I'm working on stuff all the time. Even this month, it's like we're skits and bits wise, especially it's like September, October is now. We're noticing a pattern that these are going to be our busiest months because for some reason, in addition to preparing for our own anniversary celebration on September, we get bombarded with collab requests for whatever reason in September and October. So we're very packed on like performances and other things, and just also like running a group. Like I didn't think I was going to be kind of one of the people in charge of like running and holding together this a large community of like performers. That was not on the cards. It was like I had run like the radio station and the TV station in college, but that was nothing like this.
How do you feel about your personal journey you've been on here in VRChat?
I mean, this has like permanently changed my life in like a lot of different ways. I got I found the courage in different areas to like finally kind of come figure myself out and start my own like transition, and I've been able to like expand the skill set that I have. Like I didn't know how to 3D model, I didn't know how to texture, I didn't know how to use it to code, I didn't know how to use a game engine, and like I have like this huge breadth of like things I know how to do now that I didn't expect. It's like before it was just like, oh, that was gonna take so much time. I don't know if I can do that. But like having the motivation to make things in here just gave me like the hyper focus to just rapidly learn these skills, and on top of like my filmmaking experience, like that's tools that like I can use for like making a ton of other things, and then just having now like this outlet for my creativity that like matches the closest I've gotten to like what's in my imagination. It's kind of like finally I can let this let this monster out.
How much has your outside creativity how much has changed or been affected by what you do here?
Oh gosh, that I suppose in some circumstances I haven't done a lot of like outside like creative things per se. I haven't worked on like a short film since like starting VR really, because it's like I found my satisfaction in this space. I suppose with work, I do, employ my ever-growing like creative knowledge to like the assembly and design of like the ads that I have to put together and manage sometimes. as well as kind of being able to understand like some coding things too, because like sometimes an ad is like screwing up on like some customer's website, and we gotta like debug to figure out like why that's happening, or there's something you gotta change in like some JavaScript or something, and like that's stuff I didn't know before, but because of learning C#, I've been able to like translate some of that knowledge into being able to learn what I need from like JavaScript to do what I need to do at where I work. So like there's some carry back from and skills and stuff into that.
Now, would you hop back into VR again? If you were to restart this whole entire thing over, would you come back?
Yeah, of course I would. I can't, like, I'd be devastated if like all of a sudden this was gone, and I didn't have this outlet anymore. It's just right time and right place, I guess. It's kind of like I've, in some ways, I've been like the happiest I've been in a long time in these past few years, just because I've been able to like kind of figure out who I am and what it is I like doing, and I would do this all over again. There's been bumps here or there, but it's on average been a very very important, impactful like thing I've gone through.
So, last few questions before we wrap up. First of which is the name you rock here in VRChat. Where did you get it, and why are you still using it?
So I had been going by a name. It's actually still my Twitter handle. A whale with a face. And I if it isn't obvious, I love the water, I love the ocean, I love sea life, especially whales. Even more specifically, blue whales. Those are my favorite animal. When I decided to like making whales like kind of like my thing, I thought a whale with a face was just like a nonsense thing that I thought was kind of funny. It was like, of course it's like with like a human face. It was like weird. And that over time that just got shortened to just whale face, because that was a long username to use. And about the time that I started getting into what I was introduced to VR, I was also kind of like at the height of my own personal like studying German. I had been doing it for like a few years because it was a language that I've always thought interesting, and I wanted to like have some level of understanding with it. And so when it came time to like decide to choose my my name, at the time I thought it was like adding even another layer of abstraction to it by translating into German would be unique and at least to myself kind of funny. But that just became what people knew me by. So it's like it's stuck permanently to me now. Everybody knows me as Wal or Vol, and I think I've only had like one or two people ever call me by like the second half of the name. But that's also because it's not easy to pronounce for most folks. And what's actually kind of funny that I found is like I have plenty of non-German speaking friends who will pronounce Vol with the correct German W, But my German-speaking friends will say Wall. I don't know why. It's just been like a pattern that has like developed over time. It had there has been some instances too where like I've been in a world and like somebody who's like a native German just comes running up to me like saying German, and I'm like, oh, it's like, too fast for me. I have no idea what you're talking about. And they think I'm like from Germany or something like that. Happens often. I was like, no, it's just I know some, and I just thought it was funny, but like nobody has like this name at all, so it's easy to like get it for like usernames on like any platform, except for Twitch. Somebody has my name. I don't know who took it. I'm pretty sure it was somebody who was probably a follower of one of the streamers I moderated for, and they were just like, I'm gonna steal their name on Twitch, because the person was they were just at the time only streaming on YouTube before they moved over to Twitch. So when I was getting into Twitch, I was like, for a while that name was available, but then when I actually formally went to go do it, somebody had taken the name. I don't know why. Who would have taken it? So the Twitch has the only place that has the underscore between Vol and Gesicht. So yeah, that's this guy, long and short of it.
Well, thank you very much. In the avatar you use or have used, why did you choose them? And is there anything about the avatar you're in that means anything to you?
So there's been like I guess kind of a thematic pattern that's gone on through various avatars I've had. The very first avatar I used, and it went on for like a year, was an avatar of the French Vocaloid. I know Alice. I didn't know that they were a Vocaloid. I just saw cool sci-fi lady in a world, and I was like, I'm gonna try that on. And then like I thought it was cool. I liked it, so I used it for like a year. But then that kind of started as like the basis for all the avatars I made after that. So it's like with like the blue hair and the pink eyes that's carried through the whole time. And for a while it was just like I want to just use the avatars that I make myself. But I found after a while that the ones that I had for myself took me forever to make, because I was never happy with how they were turning out. And and eventually I was like, I work pretty quick, and I think I do a good job with avatars that aren't for me. So I'm fine making things for like others to use, but I keep not getting satisfied with like the stuff I make for myself. And when I I think the very first VCat I ever visited, there was this Nyasuka was like this cat girl avatar, and that was like one of the first booth avatars I ever bought. Like I put it on, and I was like, this feels like really comfortable. Like I feel like this fits me. And I modified it to match my colors and themes, and slapped the whale on there. And couple avatars after that, same thing, until I found I used this on a dimensional postal service like a special event where I was playing like a character, and I was just tossed this Runa demo avatar, and I was like, this is really cool. And I changed a bunch of things on it, like the settings. I was like, I really like how this looks. So I bought it offline, and I got all the pieces of it to like get the settings that I liked, and made it my own. And I've just, I don't know, for some reason, like really liked the look of this avatar, and how it works. And it's like, it's not, and because it's like a robot, it's easy to kind of like modify because you don't have to worry so much about like organic organic shapes are like bending and stuff, except for like the torso area, and then it also makes it easier to decimate when you need to like get the poly count down because it's all just like mostly like right angles, which are easier to like get smaller. But it's also not like other robot avatars. Before, I hadn't liked the look of most robot avatars because it was always like very like boring, like matte cap metallics all the way through and like over shiny and like very blocky and very robotic. It's like there was not much in the way of like there's not much human left in there. But like this was kind of like one of the first like robots that I saw that was like more android, and still felt very human and again, it was like when I put it on, I thought it was very kind of a comfortable one. And I also use besides this, the creator made like this similar avatar that's like a cat robot girl called like Scient, and I bought that, and that's like the one I flip between these two depending on my mood. And I've also the face tracking on these is also like it was already there. I didn't have to put it on there, and it's actually pretty good. So when I started doing face tracking, it was like right at the perfect time for this. So it's just been a really nice avatar to work with.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, letting us get to know you and hear about all of your travels and journeys and what you've been up to.
Problem.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking me to come on and espouse all my ramblings.
A-okay. We appreciate the ramblings. As we tell everybody, never apologize for ramblings, rants, or tangents. And so Raptor and I can learn more about things we don't know, because sadly we live under rocks sometimes, and it's how we learn things. So thank you.
No problem.
And
well, thank you guys.
No problem. Where can the audience find you if they wish to find you? Or any of the things you do are involved?
Well, I guess the biggest thing would be Skits and Bits Improv. We hold workshops the first 3 Saturdays of the month, open to all skill levels from beginner to expert. We got like a new host every week, doing new topics, keeping things fresh, and just kind of doing it to like instill a love of improv and get a chance to like practice your craft or get to know it. We also make our own shorts and videos and collaborate with other groups, and then we have our show at the last Saturday of every month, and it's both of them are at 6 p.m. EST, and you can find we're discord.gg/skits, the letter N, bits, and we same with our YouTube page. I think it might also be just at Skits and Bits, but there might be a number involved. If you go to our Discord, you should find all the various links to that. And I guess personally, for my own things, I am usually posting stuff on Twitter. Like I said earlier, at a whale with a face. But it will come up as WalGesicht, like as the custom name, and that's where like I'll occasionally like post like things I'm working on and stuff. But I guess also I have a YouTube page that I post videos that I make for like my own projects. I usually like to make like a promotional video that's kind of funny that promotes like a world that I'm working on, and I put those up on mine, and that one's just at WalGesicht, WalGiStatch.
Well, thank you very much again, Wal. It's been an absolute pleasure. And every of those links will be in the description down below, with all the other fun links and doohickeys that get longer with every day that passes by. And I'm sorry you, the audience member, who have to go down there and find the thing amongst all the other things. But this is the point where we give you, the audience member, the question, the same as we have the guest, before we hand it to Raptor. And that'd be, is there any other projects or things you've always wanted to done but never really did? I know we have all had that one little thing burning in your brain. It's like, I'll do it eventually, but you never really do. Just, what about this thing, or what about that thing? I don't have the money, I don't have the time. Just, what is it? We'd love to hear all about that idea of yours. Put in the comment section below. And Raptor, as always, you know the thing.
You got it, Lane. No matter what, being out in the desert here and learning so much and everything else like this, I'm still looking for the cinnamon horse and maybe a Jaja or Jar or whatever they call those little guys that got the hoods on, knowing I'm a Star Wars fan and I fucked that up no matter which way you go. If you see one roam through here, do me a favor, give me a jingle. I want to talk to one of them. We'll talk to you later. Bye.